Hi, you're here sewing with coding, and today's video is going to be an overview of the BERNINA L460 Overlock. This is currently BERNINA's highest level of overlocker. We are having some new sergers or overlockers come out within the next couple of months, but currently this is BERNINA's highest level. This is a fantastic overlocker. It does pretty much what most people need when it comes to using a serger or creating that overlock seam. And this is a fantastic, fantastic machine. If anyone is familiar with any of the current model BERNINAs, this machine serges or sews just like those sewing machines. So it uses the same BERNINA Foot Peddle, which is nice, so it's interchangeable with your BERNINA sewing machines. It uses the same BERNINA power cord. This machine does not have the same power cord foot pedal like all the previous BERNINA sergers or overlockers. This is more like your sewing machine. So what's nice also about this, I'm sure you can see down here, is that this does use the BERNINA knee lift, which is fantastic. So this does raise and lower your presser foot along with opening your tension disc. Super, super nice. The L460 comes with the slide-on table. So if you want that extra surface, you have it. If you don't want it, there's a little button in the back. You just press it and it comes off. Especially during transport, this is convenient to take off. Otherwise, in my opinion, this is something that would just stay on the entire time you're working on your L460. It can accommodate both a left and the right needle, just like any other overlocker. This is a differential feed overlocker, and that's one of the knobs over here. So our bottom knob is for our differential feed. And if no one knows what if you don't understand what a differential feed is, it's unlike your sewing machine, which has one set of feed dogs that just move back and forth. The overlockers have two sets, so you can change how they move, and that will be discussed in a later video. And the top knob is how you can change your stitch length. So if you want those stitches close together, especially for a rolled hem, you can easily change that. It does come with a scrap or I guess we'll call it a scrap collector. So as we are sewing, it's cutting off that little excess fabric to give you that nice clean finish edge. It dispenses in here. What's nice about this one, if you are familiar with some of the older model BERNINA overlockers, is this one's actually attached. It's not going to fall off on you easily. So you have to kind of maneuver it off, but when you do pick it up, it doesn't fall. That was one of my complaints, at least, with the previous BERNINA overlockers, is that little collector would easily fall off, especially if you were moving it around. And it's easy to open the door, and you do have all your little gizmos and gadgets right here, from needle threader, tweezers, a little brush, a little screwdriver to be able to change your needles, and a little pack of extra needles. Something else that's really convenient is the little things in life that make me happy, and that's this little guy right here. So this is where, especially when we're switching from a 4-thread to a 3-thread overlock, we would take out one of the needles. In the past, we would stick them back behind where the spools of thread are, where the little foam was. Well, it eliminated the foam, which was fine because it would discolor over time. And we can now have a little spot to put our little spare needles that are still perfectly fine needles. They're still good, but we just don't need it at that moment. So it has a little spot for that little spare needle. And this little window, we've seen this on some of the previous BERNINA overlockers, but the L460 also has it too. So here, this is where we can see, if we turn our hand wheel, you'll see this kind of move. I'll zoom in for you. So you'll see that move. So typically it's going to be in your white section because most of the position is not optimal for threading. This is showing us where the optimal position is for threading the machine. Now, so you just turn your hand wheel until you reach that center red line. However, what's different about the BERNINA L460 is it knows what it's doing. So whenever we stop sewing, that needle's always going to stop in the up position. I'm almost positive it's the up position. It's always going to stop in the up position. So in that up position, it's always in that optimal threading position. So that's super, super nice. We also have our micro thread control, which is right here. So this is found on both our BERNINA L460 and the L450 overlockers. So the micro thread control, which I will discuss in another video in more detail, this is how we can fine tune our stitching if the appears that the tension is off a little bit. We can easily adjust it without having to adjust our tension just by adding or subtracting some thread that's being fed through the machine. And we have our cutting width right here. It's a nice big wheel, so it's easy to adjust. And we'll have a little gauge right up here. Let me zoom in. So we have a little gauge right here that will show you what your cutting width is at. And some very nice bright LED lights, so we can really see what we are doing. But one of my absolute favorite parts, well, there's so many wonderful things about the L460, but what's wonderful about the BERNINA L460 is the motor. So it's super quiet. Because we're using the BERNINA Foot Peddle, we can take one stitch at a time. So the slightest pressure will allow us to stitch as slow or as fast as we want. But we can really regulate that by the amount of pressure that we apply. And as you can see, the needle always stops up. No matter what I do, that needle's always going to stop in that up position. However, if we wanted it to stop in the down position, just like with all the other BERNINAs, if we tap our heel, so here's our foot pedal. So if we tap the heel, it will drop our needle. So we can show you again, or raise the needle. That back kick is still there that we've had for decades. And it's a wonderful feature, and that's something you get with the L460 using the BERNINA Foot Peddle. And up here, we do have the ability to adjust our pressure depending if we're sewing on heavy or lighter weight fabrics. I think that's a good overview of pretty much just an overview of the BERNINA L460 Overlocker and a little of the things that it does and some of the things that I really love about this particular overlocker opposed to our previous and some of our current model overlockers. It's just a wonderful, smooth, quiet sewing serger. All right, hopefully this answers some of y'all's questions. All right, well, happy sewing.